Hello and welcome. I'm Nando Vila, and this is Fusion's coverage of the first 2016 presidential debate. In about 10 minutes, Hillary Clinton and her Republican opponent Donald Trump will take the stage at Hofstra University in Hempstead, New York, in what promises to be one of the most bizarre political events in American history. Experts are predicting a record TV audience, and let's face it, it's not because these guys are so popular. You see things like most watched debate in TV history, and you're tempted to pat America on the back for its civic engagement in the political process. But that's obviously not what's going on here. This is car crash television, like an episode of The Surreal Life in which the actual stakes are the fate of the world. The question is, will it have an impact on the voters? Well, that probably depends on which voters you're talking about. See, when it comes to those between the ages of 18 and 34, many just aren't feeling the big party candidates. A recent poll found that in a four-way race, 44% of voters under the age of 35 would vote for a third-party ticket. And in some polls, Trump was third amongst young voters. That's not even counting the voters who are choosing to sit this election out. But young people, you know, they represent the future of this country, given the fact that they're young, and so in the future they'll still be alive. So what does that mean for America? Well, to help us figure it out, we're joined by an amazing group of people, all of whom are also young and therefore also represent the future. We have Murdy Marungi, Fusion correspondent and all-around decent guy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Katie Halper, host of the Katie Halper Show on WBAI.
Thanks. Hi.
And Nilofer Hedayat, host of Fusion's new show, Traffickers, out next month. We're all very excited about it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Now, I want to go around the room and see what you guys are expecting tonight. Murdy, what do you think is going to happen?
What do I think is going to happen? Well, I'm waiting to see if people are willing to call one of these two candidates the victor just because he doesn't say anything overtly racist, sexist, or homophobic, which is an interesting standard for a presidential race. But here we are.
Yeah, it's 2016. Katie, what are you expecting?
I'm hoping that Trump will brag about the great relationship he has with various groups of people he plans to deport, incarcerate, or kill.
Yeah, he does have a good relationship with those people. Now, as you know, you're not from this country. You're born in Afghanistan, you know, educated in the finest universities of England and whatever.
True, in Britain, yes, as the accent suggests.
What are you expecting?
Well, I'm expecting a very cordial, a very polite, well-mannered debate in which these people are going to really think about the policies and debate it out and be very, very, you know, gentlemen and gentlewomanly about it.
Is that how they do that over where you're from?
I mean, it's how we do it.
Okay.
That's how you do it, no?
Yeah, exactly. Just like that. Now, we've told you what young people's voting patterns are looking like this year. But what have they looked like in the past? Here's a little history.
Millennials.
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 Stop it! Don't you see what's happening? This is what the old people want us to do. They want to tear us apart.
Oh, the youth vote.
Yes, I'm a millennial. I'm 29.
You look good for 29.
We're the elusive voter group that candidates want as their secret weapon.
Sorry, we're in here voting.
Ever since the voting age changed from 21 to 18 in 1971.
You give off such a young, cool vibe.
But where does the young voters' coveted loyalty lie? Well, recent polls are showing that millennials aren't completely sold on the two major parties' nominees. In fact, 44% of young voters are looking towards a third party, with Libertarian Gary Johnson at 29% and the Green Party's Jill Stein at 15%. But young people haven't always been so divided.
That's fine. I get that, but you're wrong and I hate you.
1972 was a record-breaking year, with the new wave of 11 million potential voters. About half of those turned out to the polls, where 48% went blue and 52% went red with Nixon.
All America was asking for change, especially our youth.
And through the years, young Dems and Republicans stayed pretty much down the middle, but having little to show with weak turnouts on Election Day. That is, until 2008. A whopping 66% of young people came out and turned up for Obama. As for our third-party members, running as an independent back in 1992, Ross Perot had 22% of the 18 to 24-year-old vote, a milestone in Perot's campaign. Today it seems like we're divided, confused, and just downright exhausted with our 2016 options.
So pick me. Choose me. Love me.
But if one thing's for sure, all the candidates have some work to do until November.
He used to call me on the cell phone.
And the millennials, they're watching. I'm Raquel Chisholm, and this is Fusion.
You know, Hillary Clinton was on Between Two Ferns, so it looks like her millennial outreach is doing a little bit better these days. Anyway, so Muridi, you know, Barack Obama, right? He didn't end racism.
No.
Contrary to popular belief.
He did not. Close.
Close. He got close, but he didn't end it. But now it seems like issues like police brutality and mass incarceration are more at the forefront than ever. What do you expect that to play out tonight?
What I don't want to hear is a lot of thoughts and prayers, you know? I don't want to hear people saying how they feel about people dying. That's important, but that's not connected at all to policy. And at some level, people dying, people being incarcerated, has to fundamentally, if you want it to change, has to change through policy.
Right.
And if we get stuck in a position tonight where we're just hearing candidates talk about, you know, how they feel about what went down in Tulsa, for example, that's really a disservice if they can't push past that and let us know what their prescriptions are.
Right. So institutionalized racism is a very important issue for young people. Here's some of the other issues that are important this cycle. We got the economy, obviously, education, foreign policy, gun laws. Now, Katie, presumably Hillary Clinton has access to the same information. Why is she struggling to connect with the millennials?
Well, I think a lot of pundits and reporters and writers are talking about how stupid millennials are and naive they are and how they just don't get the stakes are high. I actually think that maybe, just maybe, she isn't making the case well enough, or she doesn't even have the case, right? I think that, you know, Sanders really excited people because he's very anti-establishment. I think Trump is scary, but he at least pretends to be anti-establishment, whether or not he is. I think Hillary, people just see Hillary as an extension of the establishment and the status quo aren't working. Yeah,
there's a lot of talk about Hillary's delivery and, you know, if she just comes off as inauthentic or whatever, but there's little talk about what she's supposed to deliver in that effective way.
Right. Yeah. What she's actually offering, as opposed to the way or the smiles with which she's offering it.
And when we're talking about a presidential election here in America, really the one area in which a president in this country has near dictatorial powers is foreign policy, right? It's how it affects the outside world. What difference do you see in how America views itself and its role in the world versus how the rest of the world views us?
I think it's really interesting. I don't think this will be the most watched debate just here in the US. I think the eyes of the world will be turning to America today to see what the leader of the free world has to say and how they present themselves. And this could be an instance to kind of really step up the game here and change the narrative that's been going on so far. So I'm really keen, as not an American, to see what they have to say in terms of foreign policy. How are they going to project themselves? And more importantly, are they a help or a hindrance?
Well, I suspect you will be gravely disappointed. That's just my bold prediction.
I have hopes. I have high hopes.
Yeah, I don't know. It's been a rough one. I'm not going to lie. You haven't been living in it day by day.
No, you're actually tied before the whole thing began. So it was amazing. You guys drag it on a bit, I have to say.
Yeah, that is another major issue we have. Now, so Hillary Clinton, will she have a coughing fit on stage? No, I'm just kidding.
Unclear. Yeah, that could really determine. It could be over tonight, depending on the number of coughs. That's what I'm predicting.
Yeah, WebMD is still up.
No, I'm just kidding. We don't endorse that line of argument here. It's all just a big, bad conspiracy theory. Now, I just think when we look at these two candidates, do you think there is a double standard, and do you think there should be a double standard?
Definitely, I think there should be a double standard. These aren't the same people. Hillary Clinton has a long history of policy prescriptions. She's been in the White House with her husband. She's been a senator. She's been Secretary of State. And so she has a different set of questions to answer than Donald Trump, who is decent, arguably, at real estate.
He has a voting record with The Apprentice, though.
Yeah, that's true.
We shouldn't forget that.
Yeah. Anyway.
In which he plays the dictator who ends up kind of firing and hunting people at will. I think also what's interesting is that I agree with you that they're going to be judged on different levels. It's almost like a different caliber entirely. And I'm interested to see how much of a leader they appear to the rest of the world. And I don't know, I set the bar slightly differently for each of them.
You'll be very disappointed. Anyway,
He's
time for the actual debate. God help us all. Welcome to our TV audience. This is actually on TV, guys. How exciting is that? Fusion's coverage of the 2016 presidential debate. Joined here by a great panel of people that are going to help us figure it all out. You know, a recent poll found that 44% of millennials are thinking of voting third party. That's incredibly high. The Republican nominee, Donald Trump, actually comes in third in a lot of polls. So what the hell is going on? No one really knows. I'm here joined by Rudy Marungi, Fusion correspondent, an awesome guy. Katie Halper, host of the Katie Halper Show on WBAI, and Nellifer Hedayat, host of the new show on Fusion, Traffickers, which you'll be able to watch right here on this channel next month, and we're all very excited about it. Now, NBC, which is hosting the debate, has released the topics. They are, if you can believe it, America's direction, number 1, number 2, achieve prosperity, and number 3, secure our nation. Now, it seems to me there's a lot going on there. What do you think America's direction is?
It depends on who you ask. If you are running as an anti-establishment candidate, as Donald Trump is, then the direction that America is going is down right now. And so you have to double down and make that case that we're all going to die soon and that he alone can save you. And that's the direction. Obviously, Hillary's running in the other direction.
I think the Democrats are running on like a nothing to see here platform.
Status quo.
Yeah. But do you think that's a smart thing for them to do?
No. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say no. I don't think it's a smart thing for them to do. I think that what's interesting is that there is stuff that isn't working, right? And the system isn't working. It's broken. And I think that the Democrats need to be able to say that, but they say it in theory. They would be saying it without blaming people of color, without blaming Muslims, without blaming immigrants, without calling Mexicans rapists, right? So I don't think the alternative to Trump should be there's nothing to see here, folks. Move right along. NBD, you know, it's all good. That's not a good way to do it either. So I think that that's why Trump is being more successful than he should be based on his record of judging beauty contests.
Now,
strong record.
He's committed.
It's hard. It's a hard job.
Yeah, I know.
Now, one of the groups that Donald Trump has famously scapegoated is Muslims. He's called for a ban on all Muslims entering the United States. You, Nellifer Hedayat, are a Muslim and have successfully entered the United States.
Don't panic. I know, I managed. I thought I'd get in just before
it's smart.
any said ban.
Does a Donald Trump presidency worry you, especially, like, is it a historic worry for you?
I don't want to kind of, talk in hyperbolic language, but it terrifies me slightly because I think the rhetoric aside and the kind of way he expresses himself aside as this kind of binary between good and evil, America's terrible and we're going to make it better, Muslims are bad and Americans are good. It just doesn't follow real life. And young people know that. We know that you can be Muslim and a good person and you can be a Muslim and a bad person. So I'm just worried, in a kind of Trump world, if Trump does win, that this is just going to get worse, that those divides are going to get more pronounced, and it's not going to end up very well.
Well, it's time for the big show. We're all very excited about it.
This debate is sponsored by the Commission on Presidential Debates, a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization. The commission drafted tonight's format, and the rules have been agreed to by the campaigns. The 90-minute debate is divided into 6 segments, each 50 minutes long. We'll explore 3 topic areas tonight: achieving prosperity, America's direction, and securing America. At the start of each segment, I will ask the same lead-off question to both candidates, and they will each have up to 2 minutes to respond. From that point until the end of the segment, we'll have an open discussion. The questions are mine and have not been shared with the commission or the campaigns. The audience here in the room has agreed to remain silent so that we can focus on what the candidates are saying. I will invite you to applaud, however, at this moment as we welcome the candidates. Democratic nominee for President of the United States, Hillary Clinton, and Republican nominee for President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. Good luck to you. Trump, good luck to you. Well, I don't expect us to cover all the issues of this campaign tonight, but I remind everyone there are 2 more presidential debates scheduled. We are going to focus on many of the issues that voters tell us are most important, and we're going to press for specifics. I am honored to have this role, but this evening belongs to the candidates and just as important to the American people. Candidates, we look forward to hearing you articulate your policies and your positions, as well as your visions and your values. So, let's begin. We're calling this opening segment Achieving Prosperity, and central to that is jobs. There are 2 economic realities in America today. There's been a record 6 straight years of job growth, and new census numbers show incomes have increased at a record rate after years of stagnation. However, income inequality remains significant, and nearly half of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. Beginning with you, Secretary Clinton, why are you a better choice than your opponent to create the kinds of jobs that will put more money into the pockets of American workers?
Well, thank you, Lester, and thanks to Hofstra for hosting us. The central question in this election is really what kind of country we want to be and what kind of future we'll build together. Today is my granddaughter's 2nd birthday, so I think about this a lot. First, we have to build an economy that works for everyone, not just those at the top. That means we need new jobs, good jobs, with rising incomes. I want us to invest in you. I want us to invest in your future. That means jobs in infrastructure, in advanced manufacturing, in innovation and technology, clean renewable energy, and small business, because most of the new jobs will come from small business. We also have to make the economy fairer. That starts with raising the national minimum wage and also guarantee, finally, equal pay for women's work. I also want to see more companies do profit sharing. If you help create the profits, you should be able to share in them, not just the executives at the top. And I want us to do more to support people who are struggling to balance family and work. I've heard from so many of you about the difficult choices you face and the stresses that you're under. So let's have paid family leave, earned sick days. Let's be sure we have affordable child care and debt-free college. How are we going to do it? We're going to do it by having the wealthy pay their fair share and close the corporate loopholes. Finally, we tonight are on the stage together, Donald Trump and I. Donald, it's good to be with you. We're going to have a debate where we are talking about the important issues facing our country. You have to judge us. Who can shoulder the immense, awesome responsibilities of the presidency? Who can put into action the plans that will make your life better? I hope that I will be able to earn your vote on November 8th.
Secretary Clinton, thank you. Mr. Trump, the same question to you. It's about putting money, more money, into the pockets of American workers. You have up to 2 minutes.
Thank you, Lester. Our jobs are fleeing the country. They're going to Mexico. They're going to many other countries. You look at what China is doing to our country in terms of making our product. They're devaluing their currency, and there's nobody in our government to fight them. And we have a very good fight, and we have a winning fight, because they're using our country as a piggy bank to rebuild China, and many other countries are doing the same thing. So we're losing our good jobs, so many of them. When you look at what's happening in Mexico, a friend of mine who builds plants said it's the 8th wonder of the world. They're building some of the biggest plants anywhere in the world, some of the most sophisticated, some of the best plants. With the United States, as he said, not so much. So Ford is leaving. You see that, their small car division leaving. Thousands of jobs, leaving Michigan, leaving Ohio. They're all leaving, and we can't allow it to happen anymore. As far as child care is concerned and so many other things, I think Hillary and I agree on that. We probably disagree a little bit as to numbers and amounts and what we're going to do, but perhaps we'll be talking about that later. But we have to stop our jobs from being stolen from us. We have to stop our companies from leaving the United States, and with it, firing all of their people. All you have to do is take a look at Carrier Air Conditioning in Indianapolis. They left, fired 1,400 people. They're going to Mexico. So many, hundreds and hundreds of companies are doing this. We cannot let it happen. Under my plan, I'll be reducing taxes tremendously. from 35% to 15% for companies, small and big businesses. That's going to be a job creator like we haven't seen since Ronald Reagan. It's going to be a beautiful thing to watch. Companies will come, they will build, they will expand, new companies will start, and I look very, very much forward to doing it. We have to renegotiate our trade deals, and we have to stop these countries from stealing our companies and our jobs.
Secretary Clinton, would you like to respond?
Well, I think that trade is an important issue. Of course, we are 5% of the world's population. We have to trade with the other 95%. And we need to have smart, fair trade deals. We also, though, need to have a tax system that rewards work and not just financial transactions. And the kind of plan that Donald has put forth would be trickle-down economics all over again. In fact, it would be the most extreme version, the biggest tax cuts for the top % of the people in this country than we've ever had. I call it trumped-up trickle-down, because that's exactly what it would be. That is not how we grow the economy. We just have a different view about what's best for growing the economy, how we make investments that will actually produce jobs and rising incomes. I think we come at it from somewhat different perspectives. I understand that. You know, Donald was very fortunate in his life, and that's all to his benefit. He started his business with $14 million borrowed from his father, and he really believes that the more you help wealthy people, the better off we'll be, and that everything will work out from there. I don't buy that. I have a different experience. My father was a small businessman. He worked really hard. He printed drapery fabrics on long tables where he pulled out those fabrics and he went down with a silk screen and dumped the paint in and took the squeegee and kept going. And so what I believe is the more we can do for the middle class, the more we can invest in you, your education, your skills, your future, the better we will be off and the better we'll grow. That's the kind of economy I want us to see again.
Let me follow up with Mr. Trump if I can. You've talked about creating 25 million jobs, and you've promised to bring back millions of jobs for Americans. How are we going to bring back the industries that have left this country for cheaper labor overseas? How specifically are you going to tell American manufacturers that you have to come back?
Well, for one thing, and before we start on that, my father gave me a very small loan in 1975, and I built it into a company that's worth many, many billions of dollars with some of the greatest assets in the world. And I say that only because that's the kind of thinking that our country needs. Our country's in deep trouble. We don't know what we're doing when it comes to devaluations, and all of these countries all over the world, especially China, they're the best ever at it. What they're doing to us is a very, very sad thing. So we have to do that. We have to renegotiate our trade deals. And Lester, they're taking our jobs, they're giving incentives, they're doing things that, frankly, we don't do. Let me give you the example of Mexico. They have a VAT tax. We're in a different